The fluorescent lights of the clinic buzzed faintly above me as I sat in the corner chair, knees pulled in tight. My mother hadn't let me sit beside her and my younger brother, Evan. She had made me sit away, near the cracked window where the cold air seeped in. Evan sat in the exam chair, swinging his legs lazily while the nurse took his vitals. He was always treated like royalty, even here. My mom stroked his hair as though he were some delicate prince, while I was just the shadow in the room. The doctor entered, clipboard in hand, adjusting his glasses. "We'll need some blood work to check Evan's levels," he said. "He's been showing signs of fatigue." Before I could even process the words, my mom's sharp laugh cut across the room. She leaned forward and asked in a casual, poisonous tone, "Can her blood work for my son? She's just storage anyway. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video." The words hit me harder than any slap ever had. The nurse froze, eyes darting between us. The doctor cleared his throat uncomfortably, but my mom just smirked, glancing over at me like I wasn't even human. Why waste time drawing his blood if you can just use hers? She doesn't have much of a purpose, but maybe she can finally give something back. Evan giggled, looking at me with the same cruelty he'd learned from them. "Yeah, Mom's right. She's like a spare tank, right? Just take hers." My chest tightened. I wanted to shout, to scream that I wasn't storage, that I wasn't some empty container to be used and discarded, but I stayed silent, biting the inside of my cheek until I tasted blood. The doctor muttered, "That's not how it works, ma'am. We need his sample for accuracy." But my mom wasn't listening. She was laughing, loud enough for the hallway to hear. "Of course it doesn't work like that, but wouldn't it be nice to finally get something useful out of her?" Dad wasn't even in the room, but I knew if he had been, he would have laughed too. That was their favorite pastime, reminding me that I was less than nothing. The nurse quickly drew Evan's blood, and my mom kissed the top of his head, praising him like he had just saved the world. Then, as if to twist the knife, she turned to me and said, "See how brave he is? You'd probably faint. That's why you're better as storage." Heat burned behind my eyes, my fists clenched so hard my nails dug crescents into my palms. I didn't cry. I didn't flinch. I sat still because I wanted every word seared into me. The humiliation didn't end there. On the drive home, Mom bragged on the phone to Dad. "You should have heard me. I told the doctor she's just storage." Everyone laughed. Evan cackled in the back seat, chiming in, "Yeah, she's like a fridge, just keeping parts until I need them." The car filled with their laughter bouncing around me, pressing me into silence. When we got home, Dad was waiting by the door. "How was it?" he asked, kissing Mom on the cheek. She grinned, tossing her purse on the counter. "Evan was perfect. And Rachel? Well, I told the doctor what she really is. Just storage. Finally said it out loud." Dad laughed, his voice booming. "Good. Someone had to say it. She should be grateful she even has a roof. We should start charging rent for storing her here." Evan mimicked the line, chanting storage, storage, storage as he bounded up the stairs. I stood in the doorway, my legs trembling, the weight of their voices crushing me. But beneath the weight, something inside me shifted. They thought I was storage? Then I would remember every word. I would listen. I would take it all in their laughter, their cruelty, their pride, and one day I would use it against them. Because storage doesn't just hold things. Storage keeps everything safe until the right time. And I promised myself that the right time was coming. The nickname stuck. From that day at the doctor's office, my parents and Evan didn't just treat me as worthless, they weaponized the word storage. It became their inside joke, their family chant, their way of reminding me every single day that I wasn't a daughter, I wasn't a sister, I wasn't even a person. I'd walk into the kitchen and find a post-it on the fridge. "Storage unit, don't eat the good food." Mom's handwriting sharp and deliberate. Dad would come home from work and toss his muddy boots at me. "Here, storage, put those away. At least you're useful for something." Evan took it further. He'd call his friends on speaker, laughing. "Come over and see my family's storage unit. She even cooks sometimes." His friends would laugh, and if I dared to speak up, he'd sneer, "Careful, don't wake the storage unit. It gets loud." Every word, every laugh, every mocking glance pressed into me like hot metal. But instead of crumbling, I started listening more carefully, watching, collecting. At dinner one night, Mom boasted about Evan's grades, her voice dripping with pride. "My son's going to be a doctor, maybe a lawyer, maybe both, unlike her." She tilted her chin at me. "She's lucky if she remembers to breathe." Dad barked a laugh, raising his glass. "Storage doesn't need brains, just empty space." Evan grinned, stabbing his fork into his steak. "Don't worry, Mom. If I ever need a transplant, I know where to get it." Their laughter roared around me, but I stayed silent, chewing my food slowly, forcing myself to breathe evenly. Because now, silence wasn't surrender. Silence was survival. The more they mocked, the more they revealed. They showed me exactly what they valued, what they bragged about, what they clung to: money, appearances, Evan's supposed future, their polished reputation in the neighborhood. And every time they bragged, I filed it away like precious evidence. One evening, when I passed by the living room, I overheard Mom on the phone with her sister. Her voice carried through the door. "Rachel? Oh, she's nothing. We keep her around, but honestly, she's just taking up space. Evan is our legacy. He's everything. She's storage, like I said. Everyone knows it now." She laughed, and her sister laughed too. I pressed my back against the wall, my nails digging into the wallpaper, my chest rising and falling with fury. They weren't just humiliating me inside these walls anymore. They were spreading it outside, cementing my label in the mouths of others. A few days later, I went to the grocery store with Mom. She bumped into an old neighbor and introduced Evan like he was royalty. Then, with a smirk, she added, "And this is Rachel, our storage. Isn't it funny?" The neighbor chuckled awkwardly, muttering something polite, but the smirk on Mom's face told me she thought she had scored another victory. By then, my skin was numb to their cruelty. But my mind, it was sharper than ever. That night, lying in bed with the neon glow of the street lamp filtering through the blinds, I whispered to myself, "Storage remembers." Because what they didn't realize was that I wasn't just holding their words. I was holding their weaknesses, their lies, their patterns. And I was done letting them pile junk into me. A plan began to form, not just any plan, but something that would hit them where it hurt. If I was storage, then I would store their secrets. And when the time was right, I'd unload everything in a way they couldn't laugh off, couldn't hide, couldn't twist. The shift began quietly. When Dad left bills out on the counter, I memorized numbers. When Mom boasted to her friends about Evan's achievements, I noted every exaggeration, every lie. When Evan bragged online about cheating on tests or bullying kids at school, I screenshotted, saved, stored. Storage, indeed. The more I collected, the more powerful I felt. Every cruel word they spoke was another crack in the foundation of the perfect family image they clung to. One night, Evan burst into my room without knocking, holding his phone. "Storage, my friends loved the video of you crying at the doctor's office. Want to do another one? Maybe this time we'll film you begging for scraps." He laughed, but I just stared at him, silent. My lack of reaction unsettled him. He shifted uncomfortably before leaving. Mom noticed too. "What's with you?" she asked one morning, narrowing her eyes. "Not crying anymore? Not fighting back? Did you finally accept what you are?" I smiled faintly, the first real smile I'd let slip in weeks. "I'm just listening." Her smirk faltered. By the time the next doctor's appointment rolled around, I was ready. Not to scream, not to fight, but to set the stage. Because the clinic wasn't just a place of humiliation anymore. It was going to be the place where their voices, their laughter, their poison turned into their downfall. The day of Evan's next appointment, the air in the clinic felt different. Mom marched in with her usual arrogance, Evan bouncing beside her, Dad trailing with a grin. I followed, quiet, clutching my bag. We sat in the same room as before. Evan climbed into the chair, whining about the needle. Mom cooed, "Don't worry, sweetheart. If he faints, maybe Rachel's blood can cover him again. She's just storage." Dad chuckled. Hell, why not drain her completely? Then at least she'd finally serve a purpose. Their laughter rang through the sterile room, but this time they weren't the only ones listening. Because I'd been prepared. My phone sat recording in my bag, propped up perfectly. Every word, every toxic laugh, every cruel line captured. The doctor entered, glancing at the chart. He frowned, then looked up at my parents. Mr. and Mrs. Callahan, I'd like to discuss Evan's results in private. Mom waved a hand. Say whatever you need. Rachel's just here for the ride. The doctor hesitated, then sighed. Evan's results indicate severe issues. We'll need consistent follow-ups, potential treatment, and I have to stress this falsifying records or joking about transferring blood or organs can cause serious problems. This clinic doesn't tolerate exploitation. His tone was sharper than before. Mom's smile faltered. Dad cleared his throat. But before they could speak, I reached into my bag and placed my phone on the counter. The screen glowed. The audio played. Can her blood work for my son? She's just storage anyway. Why not drain her completely? At least she'd finally serve a purpose. She's lucky she even has a roof. Their voices filled the room, loud, undeniable. The doctor froze. The nurse stopped mid-step, eyes wide. Even Evan's face dropped, his arrogance cracking. The room went silent except for their own laughter echoing back at them. Mom lunged for the phone, but I snatched it back, my voice cold. Go ahead, try to take it. I've already sent copies. Dad's face flushed red. You wouldn't dare. I already did. I cut him off. The clinic board, the school. Your precious neighbors. They all have it now. Every single word. The doctor's face hardened. This is abuse. We'll be required to report this immediately. Mom stammered. It was just a joke. But the nurse's glare cut her down. You don't joke about selling your daughter's blood. I stood, finally meeting their eyes. Storage doesn't just hold things. Storage keeps records, and I've kept everything. As I walked out of the clinic, I heard their voices no longer laughing, but panicked, desperate. The same neighbors who once smirked at their jokes now whispered about them. Reports spread. Their perfect image cracked wide open. By evening, messages flooded social media. The video of their words went viral in our town, shared by classmates, coworkers, family, friends. Headlines followed. Parents mock daughter as storage, suggest giving her blood to son. Their empire of pride collapsed overnight. Evan became a punchline at school. Dad's coworkers shunned him. Mom's friends cut her off. Everywhere they went, people stared, whispered, recoiled. And me? For the first time, I walked tall. No sticker, no scarlet mark. Just me, no longer storage, but the one who had taken everything they loved. Their reputation, their pride, their control. They had turned me into a punchline. But in the end, they were the joke everyone laughed at. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments, from where are you watching this video?